Alright, in this video what we're going to go over is some descriptive statistics. This one's a pretty good problem. It has mean, standard deviation, quartiles, cumulative frequency table, all that kind of stuff. So, my students can struggle on this a little bit, so let's go over it so there's no more struggling. Okay, so it says the weight of 200 female athletes are recorded in the table. Okay, so you have your table over here. Okay. Okay, so it's interval data. That's important. That's gonna we'll have to deal with that later. Okay, so write down the modal group. Okay, well, let's look at this. Okay, so what's the modal group? Well, it's the one that has the most. Mode, the most, right? Modal. So it's that one. Okay, so, you would just write the group. So it would be, 60 W is greater than or equal to 60 and less than 65. Okay? Not a big deal there. They always start off pretty easy on these. B, calculate the estimated mean and standard deviation. Okay, no problem. We do this on a calculator. Now, the only trick here with interval data is you have to take the middle of this. So, the way you do it is you just take the average. Okay, so, 45 plus 50 divided by 2 is 47.5. Okay, so this is the value we're going to enter in the calculator. Now, 50 plus 55 is 52.5. Now, you should see a pattern here. It's going up by 5, so I can just fill this out. 57.5, 62.5, 67.5, 72.5, and 77.5. So what I'm going to do in my list, in my calculator, is I'm going to enter in this in list 1, and I'm going to enter the frequency in list 2. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so if we break out our calculator here, I'm going to go to stat and then just edit, enter. Now, I've already entered these in, okay, just to save time here. But, 47.5, 52.5, blah, blah, blah. You just enter them all in. And then you go to stat. You go to calculate, one variable stats, press enter. List 1 is the list, and then the frequency list is list 2. Okay, so to get list 2, we just do second and the number 2, the L2 in blue there. Go down, calculate. What do we got? Okay, so they want the mean. Okay, so the mean is right here, x with the bar over it. That means mean. So that's 63.2. And the standard deviation is 6 point. We don't use this one. We use this one right here. So it's going to be 6.62. Okay, so the standard. Okay, so the mean equals 63. 0.2, and the standard deviation of x equals, what was it? It was 6 point something. 6.62. Okay, so we're good to go. Okay, so that's all calculator work, so you just kind of have to know how to use your calculator there. Now, construct a cumulative frequency table and use it to draw a cumulative frequency graph. Okay, now the table, if you want a cumulative frequency here, okay, the way we would do this is, I'm just going to be cum frequency right here. Okay, and basically cumulative means adding together, and so basically it means adding cumulative frequency, adding together the frequencies. That's what you're doing here, okay? Okay, so if we look here, this is what, 45 to 50 kilograms, so you always look at the end right here. So all the ones less than 50. Well, there's 4 of them. Okay, that's the first one. Now, let's look at this one. Less than 55. So less than 55. Well, it's 16 of them plus that one. So you just add them together. So it's going to be 16 plus 4, which is 20. Now, the ones that are less than 60. So less than 60 is going to be add 45 to 20, which would be 65. So cumulative frequency, the cumulative total. Okay, then we add 58. Okay, so less than 65 would be, 58, it would be 123. Okay, then we're going to add less than 70, add 43, which would be 166. Then we're going to add 28, which would be 194. And if we did this right, we should come up with the total of 200. And we do, 194 plus 6 is 200. So we are good to go on that. Now I'm going to show you a nice, better representation. This is a little messy. Hold on just one second here. Okay, so if we look at I just added, right here digitally, so it looks better. So less than 54. The point is just you have to add these together. So 4 plus 16, then plus 45, blah, blah, blah. You get the cumulative frequency. Now, they want us to draw a cumulative frequency graph. Now, on an IB type problem, this is an IB type problem, but usually what they'll do is they'll give you the X and Y axis. They'll tell you what they want to go by, like, at 20 for every centimeter or something like that. In this case, it doesn't really say that. Now, these are kind of hard to draw, and they get a little messy. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you the graph and how you would draw it, okay? Okay, so here we go. I pasted it in. So, weight is the X axis right here. So, it's going by tens here, or actually fives. Cumulative frequency is going to go up to 100. The cumulative frequency is always on the y-axis. Okay, so then you just plot each one. So you would go, less than 50. It starts at 45, which would be 0. It always starts at 0. And then 50 would be 4, 55 would be 20, 50, so 0. Okay, 4, 20, and then what, 65? So 65, up here, and then 123. Okay, with IB graph paper, it's a little easier. The point to make here is that you get up to 200. Okay, so you can see right here, 200 at the top. Okay, so that's how you would draw one. Now, what you want to make sure, the way the IB grades this is very simple. You get A1 for this axis, you get A1 for this axis, you get usually about 3 points for plotting the points correctly, and then you get 1 point for a smooth curve. So you want to, don't make this jagged. You want to make sure it's smooth. Okay, and then you're gonna have, don't worry if you do it incorrectly. You can still get follow through with your next answers. Okay, because they're gonna ask you more questions on this. Okay, so so here we go. Let's look at part D. Okay, so write down the median, the lower quartile, and the upper quartile. Okay, this is important. The median is the middle. It's the 50th percentile. Okay, so if we're looking at 200, the middle of that would be 100, which would just be right here. Now, what do we want? They want the weight. So the way you do this is you just draw it. I'll do the best I can here. You just draw it straight over like that to 100, and then you're going to draw it straight down like this. Wow, that was a really straight line. That was impressive. Okay, 60. If I do say so myself, I'm really modest there, huh? Okay, so that is the median. So what would I say the median is here? Okay, so maybe 62 or 63. They normally give you a little leeway. So let's say, let's say that the median is 63. Okay, and again, with IB graph paper, it would be much easier to read. Okay, now let's look for, they'll give you plus or minus a half on that usually. The lower quartile. The lower quartile is the 25th percentile. Okay, so the lower quartile is, the 25th percentile. Okay, so in this case, we can just do, there's 200 total kids, so 200, times 0.25, well, that's going to be 50. So again, we'll look at here. Okay, so we've got 40, 60. Okay, 50 is going to be right here, so I have to go over like this, and then I have to go down. Okay, so again, this is probably, that's 55. I would say roughly about 58. And now the upper quartile. The upper quartile is the, 75th percentile. Okay, so what you're going to do when they ask you for these quartiles, they're going to ask you to draw a box plot. Okay, and so the way this would work is 75, 200 times 0.75 is 150. Now, one way to look at this is if the median's in the middle here, you just take half of this side and half of this side. So we'll get 150, which is right here. So we'll just go straight over like that. Okay, and if you have a ruler on the test, it makes it really easy. Okay, so I'm going to go with maybe 67 with that. Okay. So they don't ask it on this problem, but like very common problem, they'll say, okay, what's the interquartile range? Okay. Well, the interquartile range is just the upper quartile minus the lower quartile. So it would be 67 minus 58, which would be 9. Okay, so that, you never know. You might get asked that question. So it's good to know. Okay, now the lowest weight, let's look at part D, okay? So the lowest weight is 47, the highest weight is 76. Use this information to draw a box and whisker plot. Okay, well, you can do that. And again, I'm going to put up a computer-generated one of this just because it's nicer. Hold on one second. Okay, so again, here we go. Here's our box plot. Again, you would use graph paper for this. And so, they say the lowest is 47, so you make a plot for it. They call it a 5-number summary because there's 5 numbers in it. 47, the highest one is 76, so that would be right here. Okay, the median is, what do we have our median? 63, right? Okay, that's a little bit off. 63, lower quartile 58. Whoa, did I copy the wrong graph here? Wait, 76. Wait, hold on just 1 second. All right, wow, this is not correct. Okay, but this is a good learning opportunity, actually. I'm doing this out of a textbook. You would think their thing would be correct, but it's not. Okay, so lower quartile is 58, so that's going to be, like about right here. Okay, and the median is 63, so 63 is going to be maybe about right here. And then the upper quartile is 67, which would be right here. So this thing, this is shifted over a little too much. So what you do is you just draw your box right here, and then for your median you put it right there. Okay, and then you extend the whiskers. It's called a box and whisker plot or a box plot. Okay, because you have a box and you got whiskers. Wow, that's really bizarre that the book was wrong on that. But that's all right. So anyway, that's the way you do it. If I were to let me just show you, make it again just so you can see. If you're going to go 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and always remember what you're doing here. It's kilograms, it's weight. Okay, so again, let's just, 47 would be right here, roughly. Okay, and on IB graph paper, this is easy. 76, okay. The median 63. Okay, the lower quartile is 58. The upper quartile is 67. And we are good to go. Make your whiskers and then your box plot. Okay, so sorry about that. I did not notice that graph was messed up. But it's all right. Sometimes you can learn from some mistakes here. Okay, so anyway, that's a pretty good statistics problem. You got mean, you got standard deviation. You got a lot of stuff going on there. Cumulative frequency. It's real important that you know how to find the answers based on this. So you want to know the lower quartile, the upper quartile, the median, etc. If they wanted to find the 60th percentile or something like that, you just do 200 times 0.6, which would be 120, and you could go up and over. So you can really find anything you want. Okay, so anyway, that's going to do it for this one. Hope it helped out. And again, sorry about that bad graph there. That is really bizarre. Okay, take care.